Step into the world of success with your brand amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. This has been such a long time coming. I'm so excited to have Ajay Yadav on the podcast. Many of you have heard the ads for Simplified or heard me talk about it. Ajay is one of the co-founders of Simplified, and they've been such a great partner for me and my podcast and everything else that I do, agency work, etc. So first and foremost, thank you for being here and giving some time. I know you have such a busy schedule.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting, especially to chat with you.
Yeah, well, before we get into now, I want to talk about your past. When did you come to the United States? What were your first businesses? And then how did you get to Simplified?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy actually how I ended up here. I actually, first of all, I moved to the States when I was 17, but because I failed my 12th grade, so senior high school, twice. So my dad was like, hey, you're no good here. You wouldn't do well. Literally, he said, you wouldn't do well here. So I think you should just go to some random college. And I wanted to run away from home because I just didn't feel like, I could compete at that level. So, I somehow landed here. I was in Pennsylvania for some time, and then I moved to New York, and I was there for 15 years.
Wow. So what was different about being in the U.S. than being back in India? And what created success for you?
I guess the biggest difference was, right, like when I was even like failing in high school or senior high school, the big deal was like you looked at and it was like, wow, you're not going to go anywhere, right? Because you're competing in that level where if you're not like the top 1 percentile in the class, you don't really matter because, there's so many people, right? So you can't even blame that system. So for me, it was like, wow, that was the culture where I grew up. Was failure was not a thing to do, right? So you can take risks, but be very cautious. You always have to succeed. You always have to make sure that, you're making the right moves. And here it was about like, hey, you know what? You can just like fail as many times as you want. You can do whatever you want, right? But here it was more about, you should actually make more moves. You should fail more often. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you don't repeat the same mistakes, right? But the speed here can be amazing. So just go and do your stuff as fast as you can and fail as fast as you can, and hopefully get to success faster.
That's the funny thing about, I guess, the entrepreneurial spirit, the American dream, right? If you don't fail as an entrepreneur, you don't learn the lessons you need to be successful later.
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of playbooks, and I think the big thing that you have to look at, there's a lot of books on like how to be successful, right? But everyone's playbook is so different based on the time, based on the resources, based where you are, and ideas and all the innovation and technology, whatever is happening, right? So even though you can read all these books, but you are the ones who have to deal with it, right? So that means you just kind of get through the cycle, just test the experiment, get out there. And the best part, you're going to meet so many people who are willing to support that journey. That's the beauty, I think, about all of this in this country. The one thing I've really loved and being grateful for is just the amount of support you have to do building your dreams, right? That's a big deal.
Well, let's talk about that support, because I also know you went into this entrepreneurship journey and you had to knock on a lot of doors to get the yes.
Yeah.
Right? To get to yes. You did win a business plan competition in the state of New York. You have been Forbes 30 under 30. But what was it like to get there? What were the difficulties you experienced coming up with business ideas and getting your first yes?
Yeah. And ideas I thought were kind of easier for me. I think I learned this early on that, everyone talked about that. Hey, look at the problems that either you experience or your family or friends, like someone close to you, right? So for me, that was easy, right? So when I was getting into it, hey, how do I find roommates? And I ended up building my first company to help you find roommates. But now, how do you get funded? So I think that was a lesson learned the hard way. I think I spent maybe almost 2 years meeting ton of people. And the simple formula that I think I learned and applied was, if I meet you and Annika is like, hey, I'm not going to invest in you. Sorry, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I would ask you, hey, would you mind connecting me to 1 or 2 people? Oh. So that was the trick. And this is now more than 10 years ago, right? So it's like, this is very early on. I think this worked really well back in the days. And I would do this with so many people. So I ended up meeting hundreds of people. I think I met almost close to 300 people who went to pitch. And one of the guys who invested named Matt, and he was super awesome. And he said, listen, man, I think I was bugging him way too much. So he gave me 10 grand just not to bug him. Almost like, hey, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. Here's $10,000. I hope you make it successful. Or I hope you make it, whatever, right? So that was a big deal for me. But just to see that there's one person to believe in you. So I forgot about all the 299 whatever investors. But that one was all that mattered to me. And from that one, you have other people now, hey, how much have you raised? Oh, I got 10 grand. I'm raising, let's say, 100. Now it feels like, okay, he's in 90 or $1,000, right? So maybe I'll chip in another 5 or 10. Then you're 80 plus. So I think that you need now. So I think it's just like you keep telling a story, keep meeting people. But once someone is in, the journey is much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So Roomy still exists, right? It still helps people in New York find roommates.
Still help people find New York. I think it's a lot of the brands in New York to help you find roommates, and profitable is doing well. That was almost a decade of my life, building and learning and making all the mistakes.
Did you had the technical skills, or did you have the idea and you partnered with somebody who had the technical? Because I know that's a lot of discussion now, and moving into the world of AI, right? You don't necessarily have to be as technical of a coder. You can use other technologies now to streamline processes. But at that point, those didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, this is long, right? I mean, I had to remind myself how long ago that was. But I mean, I'm technical. Back in the days, I think I was more closer to coding than I'm now. And I think I did the first version, like very bare bones, and I ended up hiring people online. So I'm the only founder, by the way. So it's like solo founding journey that I did for a decade, would not recommend. So I think I had a grasp on technology, but not so well like coding myself. So I just got the job done. I just hired people that were willing to help me and build a team around it, basically. So that was the idea. And when I look back now, it's like, okay, it was difficult all along the way, but I have to be sometimes remind myself to be proud that, wow, there's a company that I built that didn't die. Like so often, so many founders want to become entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs want to, whatever, vice versa, right? They want to be entrepreneurs. Is that you build something that ceased to never exist. Like, so easy to give up, fail, not exist anymore, and nothing really happened to it. So I think it was because of people who helped you build that company. So over the time, I just got lucky and learned the skill to just kind of find my way and get the resources you need to keep building the company.
Yeah. And so then from Roomy in New York, what led you out to the West Coast and then Simplified?
Yeah, I mean, Roomy was such a long journey for me and such a brutal one. I think I learned the most in that company and made the most mistakes. I was like 17, 18, I think starting my first small gigs. I think Roomy maybe have been around 20 something, 21 maybe, something like that, around that age. So super young, just doing the things that I can, learning online. And I was at the end of it, I sort of like the day it became profitable, my thing was like, hey, namaste, I'm moving on. So I waited for that moment for so long. It's like, okay, I was like completely burned out, fully exhausted, but I didn't want to give up on anything until I found that path because, I never built a company that actually made money to be profitable. So once that happened for me, it was like, okay, I'm out of this train. And then Katie, my co-founder now, he actually is an old friend online, by the way. We never met. And reconnected on the Clubhouse. And I was busy hosting a lot of clubs and all that thing, pandemic, of course. Like I had so much time. It's like just really killing on Clubhouse. And he joined one of my groups or something. And then we reconnected and I saw that he started learning Simplified in 3 months before I joined. And I'm like, oh, this is super cool. But at that point, it was just a design platform, like Canva, Adobe. And I was like, I think this is a massive market. I wanted to invest in the company. So I ended up doing my first ever big syndicate where I invested the money through a bunch of investors that joined my syndicate, and then we put in a check.
Nice.
And then the more I start talking to, Katie, and more we chat about the idea, business, and potential. And I wanted to build something in fintech space. And at that point in time, I'm like, let me put my idea on the back burner for now. This is exciting. And he asked me to join. So I'm like, took me a while to say yes, to consider that option. But I think at that point, like, you know what, let's just go in 1+1, 3. Let's go and build this thing and massive market. So, yep, here I am. Oh, it's going to be, 2020 to now 2024. Been grinding.
Yeah. Well, and you've been grinding, but at this point, was latest 12 million, 14 million users are on Simplified as a platform?
I think close to 14 million have signed up to try the platform. You know, we are doing 1 million plus in MAUs now. So it's crazy to think that, you know, 1 million plus people can just log in every month and use the platform.
Yeah.
And it's been growing and they're going pretty fast. I think expect we're adding, as a bare bones, I think 5 million, 10 million people a year on the platform. And I think we're still super early. It's still super small. When you look at the scale of like Canva, Adobe, right, of the world, there's like hundreds of millions of people. So they're like nowhere close. But it's exciting to see that it can evolve into that same type of company.
Yeah. Well, and you took it from a design platform into a lot of other use cases, including being able to not only create the content, post it on social media, which those other organizations that you mentioned might have started doing a little bit more now, but they weren't doing before. So you were really at the forefront. What was the market opportunity that you saw to say, you know what, we're not just a design platform, we're going to be an all-in AI, content creation, voice moderation, clipping for social media, and posting on social media organically?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to look at it now, Simplified, is like an AI marketing platform for your business, right? So that's what it is. It's a unified system that has all the apps you need to run your marketing. And the thesis we had was, okay, small businesses, the way they run their marketing is people think of marketing in teams. Like you need design, you need video, you need like writing, and you need social media management, and then a couple of managers to do ideation and strategy and whatnot, approvals, right? So we were like, okay, if you need all these things, and the world isn't moving very much video, but the world is also still very much graphics, right? And social media has been evolving always. And so you're going to be on all social media platforms, so all different formats and different type of content. So like, what if we build something that is more than design, that is like it's all in one platform, that has all these apps. So design app, then video app, then writing app, social media app, and now, of course, project management app, is you can come in, you pay one price, you get access to all these apps. You can get to do your work from end to end. So you can go from like planning a campaign, designing a campaign, to making a video of the campaign and flipping shorts or captioning or whatever you need, right, in the video space. And drag and drop, just clicking a button and all AI powered. So we just did that to make sure that small businesses have a chance to compete at a level where some of these bigger companies and mid-market companies are playing with a lot more capital, a lot more resources, right? So the idea is that I would empower these small businesses, digital marketers, creators, founders, right, to do more with less, to be able to create better campaigns on time, right, and get them out fast as well. They do it affordably, like $30, $29.99 for all 6 apps is unheard of. You know, you're spending $100+ on those kind of apps, and I think we're at the cutting edge of technology. Everything is latest and greatest, right? So whatever is launching in the market, we try to add wherever that fits in. So that's been the idea, that let's empower these small businesses and marketers and creators.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we first met, we met at a tech boot camp, I guess, startup boot camp, and through camp events. And when we first met one-on-one after that, I think my perception was more on the social media side. And then since that time, I've just seen you add more and more and more great opportunities and applications, to the point where I'm like, I can actually record my voice and then not have to like talk as much when I'm trying to create my ads and my, my presentations. Content. I can just type it in and the AI will do all the work. I love that.
I mean, I think video became very evident to us, right? So when we were thinking about this stuff, social media was important, but what do people do on social media? It's just a way to schedule stuff and plan stuff, right?
Yeah.
We saw video was just blowing up and huge. And I think so long form video to short form became big. So we did that really, really well. Then voice came in along with this. If you're going to do like a voice generation and then add your have a video and then add a voice to it, or faceless channels, or just captioning videos. So we kept expanding, and the last one we just added was around project management. Imagine you running all of your tasks and assigning teams and yourself and deadlines. So that became like, okay, let's just add that as well, because that is where the campaign starts. So a bit kind of following the marketing field, seeing what our users and customers do, and allow them to have functions that they need to do their job, right? Because what idea is that if I can get access to the tools and life easier as a marketer, then why not? So we want to we keep adding them and keep releasing these features.
Yeah. What would you say? You've mentioned a few things, but I want to hear more about the difference between starting up, being a solo founder, and then first becoming in and investing, and then becoming a co-founder of another organization. And you had also said that you don't recommend being a solo founder. So I want to unpack that a little bit too.
I mean, solo is tough. Imagine the thing with building companies, you do so many things, right? Like jack of all trades, almost like, you're doing sales and hiring and then product and then marketing and then speaking and then brand building. I mean, there's so many things you do, right? You can only do so much by yourself. So the idea was like, so solo was hard on me, like almost a decade. It was like, just keep working so hard to manage everything from product to marketing to sales to fundraising. And that definitely takes a toll on you in so many ways. And then you're not good at everything. You almost fail at everything, so that makes it really difficult to run a company. And then the emotions get out of the way, you're dealing with yourself. There's just so many things that are happening in the same moment, right? So I would recommend that. And I think it's a very lonely journey. I think people always talk about startups being a lonely journey because it's just so hard to find support system, right? Like things are not going well, and then you feel like, oh my God, I don't feel well. And if things are going well, and you feel good, and then not going well again. I think, who do you talk to, right? So you're by yourself. And even though you have a team, but I think it's not the same. Having a co-founder is more like, hey, can we get some of the complementary skills, right? Like if I can do marketing, growth, and finance, and he can do product sales and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And that way you divide and conquer. So I feel like you're achieving more with having 2 or 3 or whatever the co-founders looks like, right? The team. But each one of plays in area of strength. And then I think we go and get that done for the company, right? Yeah. And then you all win as a team. So it's just always better. But of course, co-founder comes with it's all sort of challenges, right? So you gotta watch out for those too. But solo, I don't recommend because you're gonna burn out faster. It's a lonely journey if you can find someone great. But if you want to build a slow, steady pace company, then I think do solo. That's totally fine.
And going back a little bit to when you were Forbes 30 under 30, and when you did win the award, going back 10 years or 10 years in New York State for the business plan competition. Did those help you get more credibility, more visibility? Do you see things like getting awards, getting accolades as helpful in the business journey?
I think it does help you. I think there's just like when you look at building a company and then you look at raising capital and hiring people, often it comes down to, as sad or as not good as it is, it's like check boxes, right? We live in a world where we're being checked for like which school you went to, and then your education, and then your background, and then your experiences, right? So I think negative on my part was no Ivy League colleges, not like a top student of the class, and then never really graduated. They work at like some big company or internship, right? So I thought that having these awards was a supplemental thing for those ranked areas. So I think what happens is just like it gets you entering the door. Like, oh, wow, I was at Forbes or one of the competitions. It adds more credibility to you. And I think if it doesn't, then, I've been there where the path is just longer, right? Mm-hmm. The journey is just a little bit harder, actually. So it helped in that way. I don't think it helps to bring us success or not feeling that, but it does help in that way. And I think there's a lot of confidence that, hey, if I can do this, then I can do something else as well.
Awesome. I agree. I think anytime you are seen as a leader in your field, but some people go the other direction, right? They do have the Ivy League, or they have the other things, or they have the people that they can go to who will invest immediately in any idea that they have.
Yeah.
Now, with Simplified, you've recently added the Simplified One plan, all of these new tools. I'm sure that there are more that you're rolling out. Where do you see Simplified going? And are you still thinking about launching other products, other companies after or tangential to Simplified?
I think the idea is that we'd be paying very close attention to what people use the most, and then make those better, deeper experiences, I think. So video is like doing well, and people, what can we add to video that will allow you to do your job faster, right? Save more time. So that's the thing we think about. As an example, like we just added, let's say, bulk scheduling in like AI clips. So if you give us a YouTube and we split this same podcast, we split it into, let's say, 20, 30 videos, then I can click a button and select all of them and say, hey, just schedule to my social media, right? So that was like an amazing feature we just added. So I think the idea is from now on for the next year or so is like, keep looking at what's working, what are people using more, and then can you make that better, that experience? And then still this $30 price is unbeatable in the entire market. So like, hey, you can beat us for 6 apps for $30. So can we sign up a lot more businesses, just go scale and bigger, help more and more people to get on online marketing and using a software that's all powered by AI. So I think that's the idea. So we'll stick in the zone for at least a year or so and then figure out if there's a need to just do that.
I know one thing that I'm seeing a lot in the world of AI tools is there are a lot of tools to use that are not as simplified, right? You can't go to one ecosystem and find a whole bunch of things you can use in once. But then also people might sign up or download something, but then they don't use it as much as they could because they don't, the education side, having the time to sit and really learn how to use something. Yeah. So what kind of resources do you offer to people who join Simplified and need, that extra knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, AI is new for all of us, right? And I think there's a demographic that doesn't understand it at all. There's some that does a little bit, and there's some that does the most, right? And so we were like, okay, I mean, AI is new. So we built something called Simplified Academy. That's like, within the Simplified, you can find resources and go to Academy. So we record a bunch of videos. We got to get the most out of it, right? So then we keep building that out, keep making it better, keep switching videos, keep improving that stuff. And the idea really is that add more, I think, like exploratory videos or articles, step by step walking you through it, so that it gives enough information that I think you can go and, achieve a lot more with the tool. But I think unless you really think about this as a workflow, like end to end, or think about like job needs to be done, like I got to publish a blog post. Okay, how do I get there? How do I write the best prompt? Or maybe how do I find, what does the length look like? How do I get the images for this one? How do I publish instead of a blog? So I think we do talk about those things as well, just to kind of get you more.
Yeah, nice. One of the questions that I had was on also where we see AI going. Do you think it's going to take away jobs, but still have, the humans are still going to have to be the creative part, the strategists? And this leads into another question I had about how are you marketing? How do you find new customers? I know that we've talked about your SEO tactics and how you've used AI as a tool to help with that.
So we are happily growing this company using SEO. So to give you an idea, I think close to 90+% traffic is all organic from Google, Bing. Yeah. And we do a lot. Yeah. Let's imagine close to 100,000 clicks a day, basically. Yes. So we've been able to scale this through our own workflows. So we built a lot of AI tools inside Simplify for ourselves, internally for our teams. So like launching hundreds, thousands of landing pages for each product line that you're looking for, all using AI. So we did that a lot. Same thing for blogging, rewriting, making content better, adding more information, FAQs, Academy. I think all of this content that is using different workflows that we have inside Simplified. And we might even one day offer them to, onboard customers and help them as well. So that's the idea. We want to stay in that zone where people find something, a problem, and we show up. Then they have a high intent for conversion, and then we can convert and we can help them solve the problem, basically. I think that the job thing, I'm a big believer that instead of like replace, I think there's going to be more job opportunities, because if you can run a business as a very small team, you'll see more businesses. So more people are going to get together and start more businesses. And if you can now have AI, let's say agent, AI assistant, AI workflow, AI teammate, whatever you call it, that's where we're headed now. I think that does the end-to-end job for you. Yeah. So you get to do more play in a bigger role, right? Grow faster and add more ROI to your business using AI as a helper, I'd say. That's going to happen. So imagine now how many people can hire more people. Instead of hiring 5-person team, maybe they hire 2. But how many more can hire 2 to 2? So idea I think is going to happen is AI is going to become a companion so closely that will create more jobs, because more people can start companies and offer their services and just do more for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fantastic perspective, because I know that people are still so scared about AI and not sure where, people are really embracing it. And then the other people are like, I don't know even where to start. And I'm afraid this is going to take my job, or afraid I don't have enough privacy.
Yeah. Well, the best thing is to start, because I want you to start, because AI applies differently to everyone, and you got to figure out, how does it apply for me? Even if that's one small thing that it does for you, right? Writing emails for you, that's all it does. So it's not anything that does crazy stuff for you, but it does help you with emails, so you can get more time back to do other things that you haven't been able to do, basically.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. I just really appreciate your time and your transparency with the process. I do want to talk about your audience. And do you have a typical user? Because I know if you're getting 100,000 clicks a day, I imagine that it's a very broad base, but do you see a typical profile?
Yeah, I say social media marketers is a very strong persona for us. Once they start connecting their social media accounts, the next thing is the content they bring on board to us, right? That's a big one for us. I think the second big persona we see is in video space. So someone like, you would be like podcasters. This is like media houses, right? News channels, but anything in the video media space, that is a big one for us. I think these two are very strong.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you really want to share about your journey, about being an entrepreneur, about Simplified?
We've covered a lot. I think the only thing I'd add is that there's a lot of people, as you said, are scared of somehow exploring AI, right? And I say this very loudly, that I think everyone should get their hands on AI. Just experience what this is, so you know what this is, right? So it's not an unknown in your life. It can become something that you know. And you might not know a lot about it, but at least you've experienced some level of something about the AI, right? Because I think at some point we all have to start using it to see how can we get more time back in our lives to do things that we couldn't do before, So I think just try it out, something like that, but just give it a shot.
Yeah. I want to pivot a little bit, because we've talked about you starting a podcast probably for a year, at least, maybe a couple at this point. And that's something that you are going to be launching. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Tease it up for us.
Yeah, so it's tough. Kudos to you for doing this for so long and building it out. I've been thinking about it. I think that my biggest struggle has been, in the long run, what do I want to talk about? I think I've gone from marketing to CMOs, to CXOs, it's like the founders and whatnot. So I finally end up in this journey has been, okay, I really enjoy talking to people, mostly immigrant founders. The journeys are like mine. So I just bought a domain, theimmigrantfounder.com. Nice. So the idea is to launch a podcast and have a really long conversation, at least an hour and a half. These are very in-depth family history, how you think, which is like really to go deep down and discover why they do something they do and why they're successful or why they're not giving up. Like what makes them sort of in a position where they are, right? A lot of successful immigrant founders, actually. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully I get to record at least one this month. That's my goal. Just get a friend of mine and just record one. That's it.
Are you adding like a place on your website, since it hasn't come out yet? So if somebody's listening to this, they want to know when the first episode comes out, they can get on your mailing list?
Ooh, that's a good idea. I should be doing that. Yeah, one of the basic things.
Awesome.
I'm going to do it today. Actually, I'll do you're right, very basic, email invite. Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah. Yay. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And I will just mention that if you go to simplified.com, there is a special code if you type in my name 30 to save 30%. So that's ANIKA, the number 30. So I'm just going to tease that up, even though you probably also are hearing the ads on the podcast. But for anybody who, maybe skips through the ads a little bit, you're hearing it now on this interview. AJ, thank you so much. I really enjoy our partnership. If anybody's coming to Podcast Movement in August, we will be speaking about our partnership and using AI tools for content creation for podcasters and how it's tremendously changed my workflows and streamlined everything for me. And just not only a time saver, a money saver, but just such a big blessing.
Yeah, we'll love to meet everyone. I mean, I think it's really exciting. My first ever conference and engineering podcast in the world. So I'm excited. Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Annika. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And do you have a favorite quote, mantra, verse, words of wisdom, family motto that you use to help get yourself through the day?
Not a lot of quotes I remember, but I think the learnings that I've had is if you're going through, there's a lot of rough times you go through in startups actually. And I just have to remind myself, I'm not on the first one. Really have to always say I'm on the first one. So it's like, this has happened to so many of us. So they got through it, I'll get through it too. So I think, just keep in mind,
Yeah. I think a message we don't always think about, because you see the success that somebody has versus their path along the way where they stumbled and fell and had to lose money and gain money or hire the wrong person or any of those experiences to get to that point of success. So thank you for that.
I mean, it's tough out there, right? I mean, but you're not the first one. I think I can get through it. Just hang in there.
Well, thank you to everybody for watching or listening to this episode with AJ. Check out Simplified if you haven't yet. And go to his website, theimmigrantfounder.com, and sign up to find out when his podcast will be coming out, because I know that's going to offer a lot of great advice for entrepreneurs and small business owners, just like Your Brand Amplified does. Thank you for watching or listening, and I'll be back again in a couple days with another amazing guest sharing their story. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbandamplified.com.